Based off the thumbnail and the title of this video, no, this is absolutely not rage bait. I play both killer and survivor both sides very equally, even though I do consider myself technically a survivor main. And I am one of the biggest advocates for killer anxiety and killer balancing in the game to begin with, because I think the balancing in this game is awful. But something I wanted to talk to y'all about today is the discussion of survivor anxiety. And what does that mean to you? It's just something I've been thinking about, honestly. Like, a lot of content right now is very geared towards killer anxiety, which I think is super awesome, super valid. I think we need to raise awareness about this. But I wanted to talk about too, like, because everybody knows what it's like to go through killer anxiety. It's the point where you load up the game and you just don't want to click start, or you're sweating in a lobby because you see a streamer and you just don't want to play it now, or you're afraid of getting teabagged, or, you know, flashlights clicked at you, or waiting at the exit gate. But like, when it comes to survivor anxiety, I kind of wanted to get everyone's thoughts that's watching this video about what does that mean to you? I think it's only fair, you know, especially because I consider myself a 50-50 person. Like, we should talk about the other side too. When it comes to survivor anxiety, I'll just go ahead and give you like my personal like take on it first, and then get more broad as we go into the video. But for me, my personal experience with survivor anxiety is more geared towards being a streamer and a content creator. So for me, I feel like whenever I'm looping like on live stream, I think people have this expectation, especially because I've labeled myself as a looping tutorial guy and a DBD coach and teacher just in general. People expect like these crazy 5-gen chases like every time I'm playing, and I'm like, dude, like that's not how this works, you know? I feel like when it comes to killer anxiety, it's more of the fear of letting yourself down, but survivor anxiety comes from letting your team down. And I feel like there's just so many personal experiences that you can gain from this, right? Whether you're a new player and you're playing with your more experienced friends and you're the weakest looper on the team, so you're getting tunnel, it could be a bad match and the killer is, you know, winning, and you're just not able to generate pressure because you go down 10 seconds in chase. You're probably thinking in the back of your head what your teammates are thinking, like, man, this guy already went down in chase, dude. Like, I was only on a gen for 10 seconds. I feel like that's definitely going to be like one of the most relatable talking points when it comes to survivor anxiety. I would love to know like what maybe some people think about in the pregame lobby when it comes to survivor anxiety. Like, maybe they think like, oh man, what killer am I about to go against right now that I'm just gonna have no chance of playing against? Or, oh, who are these people in my lobby? Are they streamers? Am I gonna be featured in a video where I'm just not performing well and up to, you know, good survivor standards? I feel like a lot of Dead by Daylight content too has like inflated this like emotional issue I feel like a lot of survivors might experience now. Because if you think about it, right, like just purely making DBD survivor content in general is hard. It's very, very inflated. There's a lot of players out there. People have seen everything. They've seen CJ techs, flashbang locker saves, they've seen 5-gen chases, they've seen spins, they've really seen it all, honestly. So I feel like a lot of people think that like with survivor, even if you're not a streamer, even if you're just a player, like people really just do expect the world of you. I would not say at all that survivor is easy or autopilot mode, but I feel like a lot of content has created this notion that survivor is easy and you can put your brain on autopilot and just play it. And it's gotten to the point now where I feel like we're kind of tipping the scale, where it's like, if you lose, yo, how did you lose? It's like, and don't get me wrong, I do think the game is survivor sided, but that's a whole different conversation. But like, what are you doing losing? Like, you're on the meat plant and you're in a 4-stack Swift in comms. You should not be losing, right? And then you lose. That might make feel someone really shitty because of all the content that's out there, that this game is survivor sided. This map is survivor sided. These perks are broken and overpowered. It's still like, you know, even if you're in a full Swift on a strong map with good perks and everything, you still have to do a lot of critical thinking when you play survivor. And it really comes down to macro decision making. And it just comes down to whether or not either you or the killer have more ball knowledge. Really all it is. And this is comparing, like, say you're going against a high MMR killer against a high MMR Swift squad. There's still a lot of ways that you can make mistakes, you know, and you shouldn't feel bad about when you play survivor. I feel like, you know, internally you might feel like you're letting your teammates down because you're lack of chase time. You may feel like the weak link. And I feel like that can create a lot of bad social dynamics in DBD culture. There's probably a lot of DBD communities and Discord servers out there where people basically, like, the cool people are like the loopers and the juicers, and the not so cool people are like the people that can just do gens and hang out with you guys. I feel like that's definitely the culture we've kind of created with survivor. We're the top of the top. You have to be like a top 1%, like looper, CJ tech, flashbang save, and then everybody else is in the bottom because you can't get chased, you know? I feel like that's the direction we're kind of going with Survivor. And it makes me feel bad because there's a lot of people out there just like killer players where you just want to turn on Dead by Daylight and chill. and just do some gens and loop as best as you can when you have to, but you're afraid of your teammates whining and complaining. You're afraid of people complaining about how many pallets you dropped in your chase. I feel like too, like, even if it's something as simple as like a flashlight save and you mess it up, you probably feel like your teammate just hates your guts for missing that, right? Or I feel like I've experienced that before too, where you mess up a hook sabo play and your intentions are good, you're just here to try to help your teammate and save them, but you end up fumbling somehow, and then now you're afraid that that person's just going to hate your guts for it, And probably when it comes to playing with streamers too, there's a different level of survivor anxiety. Like killer anxiety, you don't want to get humiliated by a survivor streamer. Like survivor players in general, if you're playing with a survivor teammate that's a streamer, you probably don't want to get shit talked by their audience. Like, oh, who is this person pre-dropping all the pallets? Or man, this person, ain't going for saves. Or same thing, you might be on the survivor side of the spectrum and you're going against the killer that's a streamer. And you're afraid of getting tunneled out and their audience just shit talking you because you can't check spot properly. You pre-drop too many pallets. There is also a level of toxic culture with Survivor that I think stems from basically the people with a lot of experience playing this game passing down knowledge. You cannot drop Shack pallet at 5 gens. If you do it, you're trash. You're awful. Like, that's just one of the silliest arguments I've ever heard. Or like people constantly knowledge checking each other, Like, I feel like Survivors are really cutthroat world when you're just trying to, be a survivor main. I feel like there's a lot of comparison out there. It's a lot of like kind of nitpicking at people's playstyles and what the perks they run. Like if you're like an experienced player but you run technician, right? I feel like you're automatically going to get shit on for that. But in reality, you just may have a fear of blowing up a gen and the killer finding you. Or if you run self-care, immediately you're just labeled as a troll, even though you just find self-care very applicable and you like it and you like to go reset, There's a lot of things in the game that have really, incentivized like some toxic behavior towards each other. Expectations of teammates when it comes to solo queue, I think, is a big driver of survivor anxiety. People just have these crazy expectations of players that they're going to read your mind and know what you want, because what you were taught growing up on Survivor is what everybody should know, right? Like, it's just kind of insane to me, honestly. Or if someone's getting tunneled, they expect all their teammates to come and perform and play a certain way. Like, if it's Swift, like, I get it. You can talk to each other and y'all can figure it out. But solo queue, no comms, like, you really shouldn't expect anything of your teammates, I've seen a fair amount of endgame toxicity towards the survivors themselves, like when I play killer, which I think is incredibly interesting. The argument points they come up with to even become toxic in the first place. I see them complain from anything from 99ing exit gates to why didn't you go for this pull, or why were you running this build? And I just think that's unfair to a lot of players. Like, people are always going to make their decisions to do what they feel like is right. And I feel like a lot of survivor players, like more the toxic ones, just have these egos that are just driven with opinions. And, I was told this, you need to do this. Like, I think at a certain point as a community, we just need to relax, kind of reset ourselves, and realize at the end of the day that people just come up differently playing this game and they value different things. And some people care about winning and some people don't, That's kind of my thoughts on survivor anxiety of like what I think it is. So I would love to know your thoughts in the comments of what you think survivority means to you. I'm sorry, I think I just created a word right there. What survivor anxiety means to you, and maybe how we can combat it in the culture. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.